Cleary it is that starts. Able to bring it back.
So important here for the Newcastle team not to make early mistakes. Adam Muir, Harrigan looking to lead the Knights tonight. So important that they don't turn over possession in their own danger area. Butterfield has probably been their best player in most of the games we've seen this season. Now Billy Peden, so 5 rucks from the forwards. Now they look to Leo Dinova to drive it down. Pretty good kick in these conditions as well.
And down to the 30-metre line, accepted on the bounce by Ivan Cleary. Just inside the 40-metre line. As Jack Elsgood finds himself in possession, the whistle sounds, the penalty goes to the Sydney City side. Manson said, "I told you to get back and get out of it." They didn't respond, became involved, and so the penalty. This is how it happened. Offside against the Newcastle Knights. Cleary not looking for too much gain from the penalty kick. And Lamb, I thought, knocked on. Manson agrees. And the first scrum of the night will pack almost on the halfway line.
Oh, it's a shame. There's a big chance there for the Roosters to get some good field position. But, I mean, we're going to see plenty of that tonight. Loose balls. Because it's been very wet, very slippery out there.
Dinova working the scrum and coming up with the ball in the absence, of course, of Andrew Johns. Still serving suspension from the Origin fracas. Ball going to ground, and that's a fair ball for Sydney City. As the ball comes down and away and then knocked on by Lowry, so already the pattern for the Knights has been set. Let's hope that it doesn't become the normal as players struggle to hold possession in these boggy conditions, quagmirish at Newcastle.
Well, there's 4 knock-ons in about 27 seconds. I'm not sure about the last one, but it went forward, but the referee saw one in there somewhere. A long ball it was. I think that ball's gone backwards.
I don't think there's any doubt about that, Paul. Craigie didn't propel the ball forward. Interesting move by Phil Gould tonight as Elsgood takes the ball centre field from the scrum win. Andrew Walker probably hasn't been playing at his best, but on a night where the long kick is going to be so important, he's probably as good as anybody in that department. This is a pretty good one from the Roosters.
The in-goal judge, they sneak up into the field of play. That ball's nearly hit him on the head.
He's had a sniff there. He wanted to, I think, take it up or something.
Well, that was tremendous work here by the number 5 for the Newcastle team. Coming back, could have played at the ball. In fact, it's for 2. Mark Hughes, is it? Or Albert? Darren Albert it is, coming back. If he'd have tried to pick that one up, he would have been bundled into touch. He allows it to go over. Oh, that's the new rule, isn't it? Inside the 40s. So tremendous work there from the Roosters.
Particularly in a situation like tonight. Robert Miles. And now Lamb works it across and gets an angle from Cleary. They're 15 metres out from the line. Garlick using Barnhill. Third tackle called by referee David Manson. Close to the line. Lamb. Fittler. I thought it was a decoy run from Fittler, but it ends about a metre away from the line. Newcastle straining to keep them out. And every point tonight is going to be so important. You can multiply it by several. As Lamb puts a grubber in on the last. And Robbie O'Davis has put away. So it'll be a line drop out to restart a game. A game effort by Robbie O'Davis as he was hit by the Sydney City defenders.
And now it looks like a mistake from Newcastle. They've tried a short drop kick and it's gone fair dinkum, 1 metre. Must be a strong wind.
So this is a gift, 2 points.
Well, he's done a crusher
for Sydney City. David Manson, of course, can only work on the rule book, and of course the conditions prevailing did not help Newcastle, but I'm sure that you'll find the same set of rules existing tonight as you would on a dry day. Talking of wind, which probably had nothing to do with this situation, but it is very, very strong, Steve, coming from our right down the ground into the face of Newcastle.
Yeah, it certainly is, as you said, in favour of the Sydney City side. And we saw early in the game the tactic from Sydney City to kick the ball early in the tackle count on the 4th, inside their 40, and they got the feet in the loose. So that will be their tactics tonight.
1 from 2 last week for Cleary, and straight between the uprights. First points of the night go to Sydney City Roosters. And after 5 minutes, off the boot of Ivan Cleary, that's what happened.
Yeah, it's a very questionable ploy, isn't it, from Newcastle there in these conditions. You look to just get the ball as far away from your try line as humanly possible.
They had men out there too, on that 10-metre line. That's one of your best, Rebs. Speaking of wind, let's go to blocker. Beautiful.
The strength of the breeze, though, again indicated by the kickoff. They weren't anywhere near as adventurous, but it certainly is a factor tonight as the Roosters try to improve on a 2-0 lead. But having said that, it's already quite a relief off either team's mind, the fact that they've got any points on the board at all. Handling has been atrocious in similar conditions, although I must say it has improved in the last 3 or 4 minutes compared with the opening couple of minutes of the game. Robbie O'Davis carting the ball back 25 metres away from his own line as it goes away for Darren Albert to run into the shoulder of Jason Lowry. We thought Hermanson and Lowry might have been a bit quiet last Friday. It'll be interesting to see their performance tonight. This is Lee Jackson. He shouldn't have any problem in the conditions. Lee, we've seen plenty of them before coming to Australia, and probably has not seen the like of this for quite some time. As this ball goes to ground, and David Manson will put another scrum down.
Well, again, it's Owen Craigie who's lost the football out there. He's been ruled to have knocked on once. This time he passes the football, and the Newcastle belief is that it came off the hand of Jack Elsgood and should have been play on with 6 again.
Well, they're using dry weather tactics, still want to throw the ball around, which I don't mind. You know, when it's wet, you'll catch teams out who are hanging back and not coming up in defence, expecting the ball to stay in tight.
He's certainly put his hand up tonight, Jack Elsgood. He's come off that wing and he's really taken a lot of work away from Lamb and Fittler. And again, we see it put down. Brandon Pearson joining Sydney City last weekend from Western Suburbs. The 8 is Butterfield.
Well, that should have been a penalty against Sean Garlick, no doubt. He pulled the leg of Adam Muir as he tried to get up and play the football. Was right in front of David Manson. I was surprised that he didn't put the arm up.
Granville playing it on the left of the ground. It's gone away from Matthew Johns to the captain Harrigan. And that ball again has come out, and Sydney City, I thought for a moment they had it. Harrigan blowing up.
Well, he's got no right to blow up Paul Harrigan because it was a shock at the pass. He tried to flick past the ball out the back. See here, he gets it. Whether he lost it and tried to flick it back at the end, I'm not quite sure, but he certainly didn't have good ball security.
So City get the benefit of either the Harrigan mistake or the Manson mistake. It doesn't matter which way we view it. The runs are on the board, and Albert is going to be, I thought, tackled in goal, but he's able to slip and slide his way out of trouble.
A couple of bad misses there from the Roosters, weren't there? That was a perfect opportunity to keep Albert down there. It would have been a great tactic, but they let them off the hook, Knights.
This is Muir. Destined for his future with the Bears, so we're led to believe. Now Jackson. Jackson very angry that he didn't get some kind of recognition from the referee. Sloppy played the ball by Harrigan, away now for Dinova to put a sprint together. Takes him out to the 30-metre line, then from Gidley across the shoulder of Albert. That's backwards, quite definitely. Went for some traction, couldn't find it. And it's going to be a long night for all concerned. This is Rigon playing at the back of the scrum for Sydney City. In the run-on side tonight, Shane. Very good young player. Lamb across now. finding his captain. Then a short ball for Singh, 12 metres away from the line. Played back in that heap of mud over there to Jason Lowry. Lowry's 11 out, right in front. These opportunities might not come often. Lamb drifting across, picking up Pearson. Albert up the top, Gidley underneath. And that's how close to the line they are. Not touched, I don't think, by the Sydney City player. Hermanson on tackle 5. So it's for Adrian Lamb to go across the ground with the up and under. Battered down by Singh, picked up then. And another kick put on by Sydney City, and a very good piece of work too by Ricketson. But Newcastle have come away with it. They were about to get possession anyway with the turnover, but Ricketson was very quick in grasping the situation and trying to do something about it, turning negatives into positives. This was his work on the last, and it was just a little chance that he might have been able to get it across the line.
And the Newcastle side becoming very well acquainted with this end of the field. I get the feeling that that's going to be the case for the next 28 minutes as well. Sydney City just looking to kick the football down, play good field position, and they get that this time through another Newcastle mistake. 2
points to 0. They came off the boot of Ivan Cleary after 5 minutes of the game. And Cleary it is who takes the play to the 25-metre point, Newcastle's end. And ram the ball out as much as they can. They really haven't been able to get past the 30-metre line, Newcastle, before losing the ball. Now, Sydney City trying to put it together with Rigon. Out wide, running off his 5/8. And then back on the blind side for Barnhill to give him an opportunity. And 5 tackles have gone. That's the 10-metre line, just behind Barnhill. And away for Lamb. He's away from Butterfield, puts a kick in. Almost got the assistance from the upright. O'Davis, well, his forward progress was halted, then they picked him up, threw him back, and it'll be a line dropout. And you know my feelings on that rule.
A great play there from the Roosters. They're going pretty well. They're throwing the ball around, plenty of plays around the rucks, and Lamb's kicking game has been pretty good so far. Good defence here. O'Davis did well, but got hammered and forced back. It's a matter of converting this time in possession into points, though, for the Roosters. And at the moment, the Knights are defending very well.
They certainly had plenty of practice in that department. Just on that incident with Robbie O'Davis, when your progress is halted and you're not going anywhere, I just find that it's grossly unfair that you can be picked up by 3 or 4 hulking forwards, carried back 3 metres and made to kick the ball out from your own line. Fittler then, unloading a nice pass. They've shortened the passing up. There's not too much adventure now. 20 metres away, down the blind side, a fairly wide one for Barnhill to combine with Pearson. And Pearson is 12 metres away from the line at the 13th minute. 2-0 Sydney City off the boot of Cleary. They turn it back in the middle. Rigon gets, I thought he got a pass away from Pearson. Unable to. Butterfield around the legs. And a little grubbing kick by Sydney City. And covered by Darren Albert. We'll take a break. 2 points to 0. Sydney City over Newcastle. Back then at Marathon in Newcastle as they try to improve their competition position. They're 4th on the table, but they have got a game in hand against South Sydney. But they've won only 2 of their last 5. While Sydney City are 6th on the table with 7 and 7. And they've lost 4 consecutive matches to the Bears, the Crushers, the Magpies and the Eels. So it's Matthew Johns. Just a couple of metres from the halfway line as number 14 gets ready to come on, Troy Fletcher. Now for Dinova. And his kick is going down towards the 20-metre line. Again, an example of that breeze. It hits the breeze and comes down fairly abruptly.
A very good chase there from Newcastle. This is the best field position they've had in the game so far. Osgood was tackled 30 out from his own line. And the young player in 14 who's just come on, Troy Fletcher, very good prospect for the Knights. Came on against the Crushers last week, scored a 50-metre try and played very strongly in general play. Barnhill tackled 40 out. He's lost the football. Will be called play on.
Fittler's kick. That's no knock on, but touch. The referee saying that to indicate to players offside that they were entitled to come inside the 10-metre ring as Hughes plays it. And Newcastle again go back to this familiar territory. Owen Craigie, the hooded monster. It's a nice piece of work by Glanville. He got an awful pass from his dummy half. And then he was taken away by Lowry in defence together with Hermanson. The big fellows are working hard in defence. And of course they're slogging it always in the middle and always through the heavier going. This is Adam Muir on his own 40-metre line. And Matthew Johns for Dinova. His kick fielded on the full by Cleary. Put away there by the centre three-quarter, Craigie. And on the 30-metre line, Sydney City again with Elsgood. Elsgood, as I said earlier, having more than a busy night. I think that was number 5 hit up for Jack Elsgood, and that's quite a few more than most of the forwards. So Phil Gould has probably emphasised the fact that it's important for everybody to get involved and do your share in a situation like this. Nobody can go in with any petrol in the tank. Oh, O'Davis was really snapped up there by Pearson. And Pearson gave him a pat on the head as he ran away. O'Davis went back glaring at him. Newcastle on the 40-metre line. In fact, 30-metre line. And this is Billy Peden to the 40-metre point on the ground. Matthew Johns trying to do something with Adam Muir. Succeeded in getting it to the halfway. And now Butterfield goes back in. Muir still there, flicking it out the back. Not a night for that, but Matthew Johns was there. 14 is Fletcher, and Fletcher is inside the 40-metre line. Tackle number 5 for Newcastle. Johns puts it through the hands. O'Davis comes in to support, puts the kick in. Now a bit of pressure for Sydney City, but Mr. Cool is back there, Ivan Cleary. Desperate for a victory tonight, Sydney City. And it's showing through, Steve Roach, in the early part.
Yes, it certainly is. They are really hitting very hard as Newcastle are trying to come out of trouble, and really led well by David Barnhill. He's talking up with Storm at the moment.
I mentioned the word. I hate the thought of a storm at Newcastle. I remember a big one here one night in a Tooheys pre-season. Put the wind up a few of us. I'll give you the tip. Fittler, big kick, Breeze right behind it. Dinova using Craigie. Here's a good run for Newcastle. Craigie easily around 1 or 2 and then taken down. Eventually Hermanson puts a hip into him. Lamb was the chief tackler. O'Davis. Johns cuts out Fletcher, finds the centre. Gidley beats one, stands in another, looks to unload, too late. Riggins there to shut it down. That's where they are. There's a problem, though, for young Gidley. Matthew, who got his representative Spurs this year from memory. But here they go again. And Butterfield's lost it. That cake of soap has come spinning out of his possession, and it'll go back for a scrum 12 metres away from Sydney's line.
Matthew Gidley still down receiving attention. It's the brightest passage of play we've seen from the Knights. Working their way back into this game, it was all Sydney City in the first 5-10 minutes. Unfortunately for Newcastle, the trainer has signalled to the bench. Gidley is in trouble and will leave the field.
Barnhill. Let's have a look and see what happened to Matthew Gidley. He was stepping off his right foot. And I'm still not sure what it was that caused the problem.
Well, as Adrian Lamb drives the ball down again into the in-goal, Gidley has stayed on. Another precision kick there into the in-goal area. Hughes tackled 5 out from his own line, so Gidley will try and work the injury out.
I can't emphasise enough to you that this breeze is going to play just as much importance as the conditions of the ground tonight.
And also the fact that the Roosters are kicking a lot and they're long kicks, and it'll tire out the Newcastle forwards who've as you can imagine, got to turn around, run all the way back, and then do the hard work, slogging it out of their own territory. So Newcastle, a few hands on hippers out there already, but they're doing well.
So my point, just to complete it, is that a 2-0 lead, though it's nice to be in front, this breeze advantage is going to be very significant. Putting a value on it, I'm probably thinking in the area of 8 points, if even 8 points are achievable tonight. Steve Roach, your comment.
Well, any points that Newcastle will get, as you're talking about the breeze, they're going into it in the first half, would be a bonus at half time. If they could go in at this score, they'd be very happy, I'd say.
That's exactly right. Bonetti is on. Hermanson is off for Sydney City. I thought, in fact, that looks like Hermanson. Time in opposition half, 9 minutes. Gee, that's hard to believe, isn't it? It's very hard to believe. Sydney City, 9 minutes in opposition territory, opposed to 4 for Newcastle. Now, oh no, that'd be right. I do apologise. That'll be all right. That'll be the ratio. Julian Troy, he's on in 27. And 2-0, repeating at the 5th minute, a penalty. It was really bad luck for Newcastle. I don't know that they went for a shallow line dropout, rather that I think they just got a bad strike on it.
And Gidley succumbs to that injury now. Number 21, Evan Cochrane, reserve grade centre, is out there for the Knights. Butterfield leaves the field as well.
21 and a half gone. As Dinova goes away to his 5/8. In fact, it's not Johns, but Craigie standing in the pivot position at standoff, as they sometimes refer to it. And now the big fella joins in, Harrigan. Trying to get those big legs working as they go across the halfway line into enemy territory now. This is Muir on the 40-metre line. They've got a wide back line, plenty of depth in it as they come away for Johns, and they put 2 second-man plays together before O'Davis gets his pass on and thumped into the ground. Makes it even more difficult when you've never seen the bloke before and they take his jumper off him at the same time.
Well, he didn't read that at all, Evan Cochrane. Robbie O'Davis was trying to open up some space on the outside, and Cochrane came very close to where the tacklers were. If he'd have just drifted a little bit wider, O'Davis's good work might have unfolded.
I'm almost certain that's the same Evan Cochrane who came to Sydney from the Riverina to western suburbs and then to South Sydney before coming here. Probably went via Balmain as well, so he's done plenty of travelling. From his own 40-metre line then, Fittler puts in a kick. Albert showing some confidence, taking it on the full, and he needs a splash of confidence tonight, Darren, because he's had quite a bit of work to do and not a lot of good luck has been on his side. This is Robbie O'Davis now. It's our dad of about a fortnight back. Glanville tries to put it together with Bill Peden. Peden slammed into the ground. He ran into the waiting arms of a couple of gorillas, Lowry and Hermanson. Now Harrigan decides to try and take them on. The 16 in there is Simon Bonetti, as I pointed out. He's on. Barnhill hangs on. Harrigan still making ground. Good work by the captain. Plowed through the conditions like a real mudlark. Now Johns shortens the pass up. Craigie's there. 2-0, 5th tackle. 23.5 minutes gone for Johns. And then to the air. And this is going to be hard. Cleary had it, lost it, gives 6 tackles back to them. Here's a real good chance for the home side now, if they can hold on to the football. 21 is Cochrane. And there they are, just 11 metres away from the line. A run for Jackson. Thought about giving it to Albert, but held it back. Albert at acting half. Dinova picking up Fletcher. Fletcher puts the arm out, tries to get rid of the defence. Ricketson puts him away. O'Davis runs, and then he's flung into the ground by Fittler. Teammates for next Friday night. Johns using Harrigan, fending away. O'Davis supplies. Craigie with the ball. And they're only 5 metres from the line. As Owen Craigie plays it back for Lee Jackson, then for Dinova, and then for Johns, who puts a grubber in. Oh, the chase was very ordinary. Oh, Cleary's made another mistake. Oh, what a dreadful 60 seconds for Ivan Cleary. We'll take a break and be back in just a moment. 2-0, Sydney City over Newcastle. Welcome back to our Friday night Optus Cup telecast on the 9 network across Australia, and an enormous night of sport coming up.
Big chance here for Newcastle. Roosters are about to crack, I reckon. Harrigan's really put his hand up. He's made some great murders, and the boys are starting to put some really good play in.
15 out from the line. They put some angles together. They have got Muir standing and popping it down for Peden. Peden taken underneath by Bonetti, shut down over the top. Jackson to the right. John's a dummy inside, then goes outside, and Cochrane is put down under the tackle of Riggin and Lamb. That's the 10-metre line. Newcastle desperate to not only get the 2 points back that they gave away, but also to go to a lead running into the breeze in the first half. Jackson, a long ball. Dinova tries to put a grubbing kick in. This is play on. Oh, he got the upright involved as well. But now a penalty. There was a player offside through all of that. And Manson's got it. He's got it spot on right. Sydney City will clear with a touch finder.
Yeah, despite the fact Leo Dinova was able to get in front of the man who was ruled offside, he was always within the 10. Evan Cochrane may have also been Matthew Johns. He had a choice.
Third penalty of the game, and they've all gone the one way. And Phil Gould is not blowing up, so you know who's got the penalties. 40-metre line. With Rigon, the back rower tonight. A versatile player. I mentioned earlier that he's very talented. He can play centres, he can play in the back row. There's Fittler, realising the importance of the kicking game in conditions like this, and he's got a big boot, and poor old Robbie O'Davis keeps coming out of the corral. Gets across the try line and back into the field of play.
Yeah, Robbie will be the hardest worker in the Newcastle side tonight. I'd like to bet anything that when you do the stats at the end of the game, he's handled the ball the most times out of any of their players, and you wouldn't want a more safer or better player back there than Robbie.
And you would have seen while Paul was talking, Andrew Walker about to come on. What a luxury. I mean, it didn't please Andrew. I see in the newspapers he was quite confused about the whole thing and his future. But at the same time, Andrew Walker on the bench for Sydney City. He's about to come off it and go into the game. Hughes pulled down by Singh. And fifth and last call by Manson as they come to the 40-metre line. Dinova's kick. Fielded and brought back by Cleary again. The other end of the park, Cleary, of course, is getting just as much work, I suppose, as O'Davis, but keep in mind Robbie is running back into the teeth of the breeze against a side that knows they've got to kick. Newcastle's probably on some occasions thinking of putting it through the hands rather than kicking into the teeth of the breeze. Now they go across for Cleary, who is basically still up in the line having played the ball. Conley is on, Jackson is off. Hermanson slams it up. Fletcher goes up the top. Conley goes underneath in 15. Bonetti away for Walker. Walker puts in a neat kick. He's got the winger on the left coming down the ground quickly, but it's well and truly over the dead ball line. 30th minute coming.
I think maybe the Roosters have got to start looking at running the ball on the fifth tackle as well. Been quite predictable, their tactics so far in the first half, and good tactics, I've got to say that, just kicking for field position, but I reckon it's about time they had a crack down one of the sides of the field on the fifth tackle. Yeah,
these would have been great tactics before the unlimited interchange came in, because what the Roosters, pretty high shot will be penalised here. Clumsy one from Fittler. Man taken was Daniel Smales, one of the interchange players. But all this work that the Newcastle side have had to do in the first 20-25 minutes has basically been nullified to some extent by the unlimited interchange. I found that these tactics would have really gone against him in the last 20 minutes of this match. Maybe not so marked in the current game.
I've got my doubts whether that tackle was around the throat area. I thought that Fittler's hand actually made contact with the left shoulder of Smiles. That's behind us anyway, as Smiles takes another run, and he's on the 10-metre line, centre of the ground. Good chance for the home side. Trailing 2-0, Johns comes in, and O'Davis knocks on. Which way is Manson going to rule? He's ruled that it went backwards. Well, that could come back to be a very important ruling. The pass floating backwards in the breeze. Intercepted. Rigon, is it? No, it's Pearson. Pearson with a long run ending on the halfway. But didn't Darren Albert pick him up nice and quickly? Walker's pass, badly directed. Picked up Fittler, though. Walker's back with it. Down to the 20-metre line, and again Albert makes another tackle. 20-metre line. Cleary leaves it behind him. Fittler with a short ball. And again, I think it's Pearson. 7 metres out from the line. From one end of the park when they look like scoring. And Lamb might do it. No! O'Davis forces the ball. And it's in then.
Yeah, we've got 10 minutes here for Harrigan.
I'm just wondering if the referee thought about giving a penalty try here, because Lamb put the kick in, then was held back. That's why Harrigan's got 10. Brad Fittler is saying, what about a penalty try to Manson?
No matter how much Paul Harrigan argues, he's not going to change his decision. And Robbie O'Davis, he swooped, but there's no doubt that the penalty try was in the offing here. Adrian Lamb realised that there was nobody in behind the second line. Threaded the ball through. This all came back from some long passes thrown at the other end by Newcastle. An intercept had to be taken at some stage. Eventually, Brandon Pearson was the man who plucked it out. Albert made 2 try savers.
Let's have a look at what's happened here. This is the intercept at the other end of the ground. That's just after a ruling given about a knock-on that I called on Robbie O'Davis. And according to history, I was wrong, even though I'll be a long time believing it. Now let's watch it. There's the kick.
Yeah, well, look, Adrian Lamb, he'd kicked the ball a long time before Paul Harrigan made this tackle.
Yeah, I'm just watching, though. I'm watching O'Davis in relation to Lamb, and I've got to say you'd be a very brave referee to give a penalty try. Now, there's the kick at goal from right in front. Cleary going for 500 with this kick. And straight between the uprights, he does that. So there's 500 for Cleary. 4 points for the Sydney City Roosters over Newcastle at the 32nd minute. Back at Marathon following a controversial moment in the game. Steve Roach, you've got a comment.
Well, we saw Brad Fittler come in and was blowing up about the penalty try, but what Manson had told him was that Robbie O'Davis had the ball covered all along. That's why it wasn't awarded.
Yeah, well, there seems to be a bit of disagreement here in the box. We're just talking during the break. Paul seems to think that he would have given a try had he have been blowing the whistle.
Like, yeah, which would never happen. But I just think Lamb had some momentum and he got checked. It was only a slight check, but he lost all that momentum, and that's why. Oh, what about that for a forward pass? And it's been picked up. It's out of Barry, Terry Hermanson. But I reckon he would have got there with a free crack at him.
Yeah, well, I just want to very quickly go through that. The referee must be in no doubt that a try would have been scored to give a penalty try. And in conditions like these...
No, look, it's fair enough. Look, he's the man on the spot. He's the perfect judge right there.
So the penalty taken by Newcastle's Dinova. And we're getting up towards half-time. They've got 6 minutes. And they're still only behind by 4, Steve, down on the sideline. I mean, they're still very much, as far as the win factor is concerned, doing okay.
I think it's been a magnificent half of football. Every time that they've been down here in Newcastle Knights, they've looked dangerous. So plenty of changes of angles from them, and they should be really dangerous if they can get the football away.
Adam Muir is tackled on the 10-metre line, played back for Craigie. He goes a couple of paces, goes back and finds Dinova. Dinova for Johns. Johns puts the grubbing kick in. Is the chase any better this time? Not really. And Cleary with a mile of time to clean it up.
Yeah, I tend to think, although Ivan Cleary has made a couple of mistakes down on the ground with the grubber kick going through, maybe Newcastle might be better served now working through their 5 and then putting up the bomb. It's going to swirl around in the breeze here and be extremely difficult to get under and take.
It's Barnhill. 4th tackle.
And also easy to kick the bomb into the wind.
Now for Lowry. Another of the players that'll be on show next Friday in the Australia versus rest of the world match. Walker's kick bouncing favourably for Robbie O'Davis, who fell awkwardly, then was able to come out of the tackle before else could put a clamp on him. 9:30 that match next Friday, by the way. From Brisbane, Craigie on the 40-metre line. O'Davis going back for, I think that's Hughes. No, it's Daniel Smales. Now Butterfield, his pass is finished up going through 2 sets of hands, and that was Hughes. Quite incredibly, I don't recall having done more than one Newcastle match this year. Certainly first time to Marathon. As Johns puts a kick in, you can see it stopping very quickly as it bounces through the slop.
Brendan Pearson there at the dummy half. He's going to be a very good player for the Roosters. I know it's only for this season at this stage, but he just looked unhappy at West, didn't he, until he cut ties with them. And he's a great player, and he'll only get better in a strong team like the Roosters.
Both coaches working overtime on the interchange. Phil Gould in particular, Stephen.
I know we talk about the interchange a lot, and it's one of my bugbears, but I would have thought that these were the conditions the big men would revel in, and this is Terry Hermanson's 3rd time he's been off the field. I was just wondering how he's expected to get into the game.
Yeah, 18 tackles for Hermanson, even though he's had quite a bit of bench time. Now the kick down the ground bounces up for Fletcher. There's a bit of a worry there for Newcastle, but Fletcher got a very good bounce, and now they're back on the 20-metre line.
He also got a bit of propulsion from the Roosters chasers as well. They pushed him towards the football. And get there a little bit quicker, and he's a good player. He's down feeling the effects of that knock at the moment. He made a good charge, offloaded, and got a pretty good future, this young bloke.
Smiles pushing the 30 and then forced back under the defence of Sydney City. 2.5 minutes to the break. I pointed out to you earlier, a big night of sport on the Nine Network, as it is about this time of the year with Wimbledon. Continuation of that. And Fletcher's got some blood coming from that gash above the right eye. Dinova putting in his left-footed kick and straight down to Elsgood. He's met by the winger and the centre, Craigie and Smales. 4-0, both penalties off the boot of Ivan Cleary. They haven't been difficult. Goals will be very hard to come by tonight unless they're given to you in the proximity that Cleary has been given. Walker giving it across for Barnhill, and he's put down right on the halfway line as half-time draws even closer to the 1.5 minute marker, and Fittler floating it out for Pearson. Pearson put down, not held, to the 20-metre line, almost. And all the field on the right at their disposal for Garlick. And then Lamb, and a long ball for Walker. He's got Lowry chasing through obediently. O'Davis, confident football, line dropout. And they will take their time, Newcastle, in bringing this across for the kick.
Well, how good is he, Robbie O'Davis? He's just a sensational player, but it's not the 5th tackle, and they've got some space out there wide, the Roosters. They haven't utilised down the extremities of the field.
The confidence of this, it might look like a simple rugby league skill, but given the conditions, that's excellent work by O'Davis, particularly when you think of the amount of work he's been commanded to do. Cleary on the end of a good tackle.
Well, what a big set of defence coming up here from Newcastle as we come into the final minute. They can hang on to this 4-point deficit. They'll be fairly pleased, as we pointed out. try or a converted try would undo a lot of the good work in the first 39 minutes.
Lamb had to run a long way before he took that ball. The pass floating forward in the breeze, and Lowry has now put them where they would like to be, and that's where they aimed it for. Fittler then floating for Elsgood. Elsgood's over the line. Well, it's worked beautifully. Fittler got exactly the right pass away, and then Jack Elsgood, aided and abetted by the quagmire, has been able to beat his opposite number again.
And that's the extremity that Paul Vaughton was talking about, that they haven't exploited. You'll see here the winger, I think it's 16, Daniel Smales. He slips over, but I think that Jack Elsgood had him beaten all ends up before he actually lost his footing. He stops, he waits to see what Elsgood is going to do, and with a player of this speed and footwork, he was always going to get beaten. Davis coming across to Noah Vale. Great pass from Brad Fittler to open them up.
Yeah, the pass gets the try for the Roosters. In the end, it was one-on-one, but, you know, in these conditions, it's not hard to miss tackles, and some decoys back on the inside had taken some Newcastle defence out of the way, so there was no cover. And the Roosters, and I've got to say, they really needed that try. They've had the better of the field position, and they needed to get at least one try before half-time, because Newcastle, no doubt about it, they'll come back at them in the second half.
Yeah, what a heartbreak. There must have been, what, 5 seconds on the clock when they put the ball over the line. Newcastle side there, 4-0. 39 minutes, all of a sudden, 8 down. They've got to score twice now. That's not going to be easy. It could be 10 if they can come up with a miraculous one from the sideline.
Gee, they're betting very long odds in the ledger.
Well, the one thing in advantage is that he's got the breeze behind him, Ivan Cleary.
There's the breeze and the rain, typified by that shot, and one of our cameramen there doing it tough. Here's the kick. He's got the length on it. It's just offline. I thought it was long odds from out there tonight, but not so. A good kick, failing, however. 8 points to 0 is the score as we head to a break. We're back with more Friday night action in just a moment. 8-0 in favour of Sydney City as the second half is about to get underway under the refereeing of David Manson, and it is David Barnhill tackled back on his own 20-metre line. That's an indication of the conditions here, the breeze and the rain, which has been unabating. And a minute on the sin bin has just been told to me on Newcastle captain Paul Harrigan. Obviously at the 31st minute he was sent to the bin for a foul on Adrian Lamb, it was, and there is the big fellow in company with the sin bin timekeeper. This is Lowry, unmistakable, even though some of them are a little bit easy to mistake tonight.
Sean Garlick trying to get a penalty there by throwing the ball or holding the ball into the back of one of the Newcastle players. But Paul Harrigan, he owes his team now. He may have worked hard, but he did leave them one player down in the last 10 minutes of that first half, and that went a long way to contributing to the try being scored by Elsgood. And I've got no doubt, as we've pointed out, that he had to be off the field as well. He did blow up after the decision against him, but he made the decision for the referee in the end.
So just on their own side of the halfway. It is with the captain now, the big chief. And have a look at that soil. Not hard to get a mud bath here. As Johns puts a kick in, landing it between the winger and the full-back. And Cleary brings it back to the 20-metre line. Cochrane is on still for Newcastle. Evan Cochrane got some game time in the first half. Of course, they lost Gidley. And just looking out at one of the Newcastle players, looks like Glanville has got a problem in back play as Singh is put down. 8 points to 0, 42nd minute of the game. A try and 2 goals for Brad Fittler's team. And that is Luke Ricketson in the 12 jumper. To the halfway line goes Lamb before turning it back in for Lowry. And put away there by Butterfield in the main, together with some help from Harrigan. little bit of a head of a knock on there. It was allowed to go, and then out on the full off the boot of Brad Fittler. Not hard to do, and certainly not to be criticised. Handling and kicking tonight. Just got to grind it out. Everybody's going to have their misfortune. Harrigan. And there's Glanville heading up to get some further attention up in the sheds. As Muir puts his shoulder behind the wheel and forces it to the 35-metre point for Jackson to go to the 30 and go back for Hughes. And he's tackled there by Andrew Walker. He was put into the game at around about the 25th minute tonight, Walker. Dinova has to be careful. He gave a pass back there. It might have been very close to forward to the runaround. Then Craigie for Cochrane and O'Davis. And O'Davis put down that line. Well, there it is, just outside the 10. And Newcastle with a lot of personnel out to the right. As the kick is put in by Peden. And it's marked in goal by Miles. That'll take it back to the 20-metre point for the restart. A little embrace there from Pearson, congratulating the young winger.
Not a good sign there for Newcastle, with Bill Peden having the football in his hands on the last day. It wasn't a bad kick in the end, but Miles diffused it fairly comfortably. If Newcastle are to be a chance in this game, we've got to see the number 7 starting to do some things out there for them. We gave Leo Dinova plenty of raps early in the season when he came in. Pretty tough situation for the Knights, but really very little involvement tonight. That would take some pressure off Matthew Johns if he could start running to the line and using the football for his forwards.
Owen Craigie's the one, isn't he, Pete? He's had a really big game tonight, Owen Craigie. Every time he's got the football, he's looked likely to make a break or a half break at least.
Yeah, I think Craigie and Adam Muir have probably been the most dangerous with the football on their hands. Davis has been very good at fullback, but that's been more in safety first work than anything else.
So we're on the halfway line as Lamb angles across, and that is Pearson. Not a lot of opportunity out there really for the centre, Pearson, tonight. Although having said that, one of the better players out there tonight I think has been Jack Elsgood, a winger that really has involved himself.
I think Brandon Pearson could have picked this ball up and just played on. He really tried to get a penalty here. There it is. Also, we've got a little bit of a doubt as to whether Miles should have been given the benefit of catching the ball in the in-goal area. He may have left the field of play, caught the football and then landed in the in-goal, and that means that it would have been a scrum. A line dropout, sorry.
Adam Muir to the halfway line. We'll go down to Steve Roach in a moment, see what he was able to find out at half-time from the sheds. As Jackson tries to fend away from Fittler, then did well, took the tackle, got a ball away. O'Davis was there, and then Fletcher. The ball goes to Cochrane. That's no knock on. O'Davis is on his way. He's home. He's home singing ragtime. And just that, he's home singing in the rain. O'Davis gets it for Newcastle.
And nobody out there deserves it more than Robbie O'Davis. He's had to do a lot of clean-up work at the other end of the field. But the Knights here, they had a little bit of luck. They put pressure on. That was the incidence with Miles coming back to give the Roosters possession. But in the next set of 6, Newcastle keeping the ball alive. Tremendous offload there from Butterfield. Lee Jackson rushes through Brad Fittler before offloading to Robbie O'Davis. Then on to Fletcher. He pops a pass out. Cochrane kicks it, bounces back off the leg, and Robbie O'Davis has got every right to pick the football up. The only doubt may have been the Troy Fletcher pass as to whether it was a forward one or a back one, but the referee was pretty well positioned.
The bloke who does well here is Cochrane. He probably could have reached down and tried to grab the football. He would have knocked it on, and he just held back and put it on the toe, and then Rockin' Robbie gets it and give us something. A bit of ragtime, Raps. What is it?
Bit of Gene Kelly.
I think it was Gene Kelly, really, singing in the rain with a bit of tap dancing at the same time. And Robbie O'Davis is in to score for the Knights. 8 points to 4, and the job is for Dinova now. Very important. They gave 4 points away, really, and Dinova's kick is gently coming around to the happiness of the Newcastle crowd. 8-6 the score at the 47th. We are back. Thank you for joining us back at Marathon. And spare a thought for the people that have braved the conditions. They're not getting paid like the players. 6,500 and the rain sweeping down the ground from behind the Newcastle team. Steve Roach on the sidelines.
Well, Malcolm really at half-time said to his side that passing the ball under pressure was not a go. If we're going to throw the football around, let's shorten it up. He said they've got to improve their completion rate coming out of trouble. They made a few mistakes in the first half. And obviously the kicking game very important in the second half. Phil Gould, for his Sydney City side, he said the simple things will win us this game. The dummy half running and first to the loose ball, those sort of things will get them on top. He said all hands on deck into the wind, and there's still plenty of work to be done.
That is Craigie, one of their better players. A bustling run, never say die, written right across it. Then for Dinova to go to the air. And he gets a push in the back, but I think it'll go unchecked. And it'll be Sydney City to bring it away from 15 out from their own line after Pearson played it. Elsgood runs it. Fletcher goes bouncing off. Teaton pushes him back down. Then Walker scurries in. Very confident pickup by Andrew Walker. As 10 minutes of the second half go by, Newcastle have started their climb back. Ricketson. That line is the 40-metre line, and now they go away from it through Barnhill, who improves it by 5 metres on the last tackle for Lamb, who more or less goes for position rather than for any length on the kick. Davis in that mauling from the Sydney City players. Albert coming around from his wing, running into Garlick. 38 metres away from their own line. Newcastle with Johns probing, hoping for a gap, but Lamb putting him away. Then from Jackson, who did well on the try, didn't he? And Muir.
Get off him!
Right on the halfway mark. To the right again for Johns, and then back for Big Harrigan to run to Lowry, then give for Jackson, then sweeps for Dinova. Dinova crosses the 40-metre line and he's put away.
Well, that's the best pass Lee Jackson has thrown all year. That was a great ball to cut out a couple of players and put Dinova into a hole.
Now the kick from Johns. I thought Albert might have been offside, this winger. He's gone in and made the tackle. David Manson allows it to go, and Sydney City coming away from the 10-metre line. Here's the kick by Johns. I'm just watching Albert. No, it's only touch and go line board. You're not going to argue over that. And the Roosters losing it. Good chance for Newcastle. Can they convert? It's with Craigie standing, looking for runners, but nobody anywhere near him. Cochrane ducks into acting half before using Muir. And Adam is tackled on the 20-metre line, and a penalty goes to Newcastle for stealing the ball against the Roosters. Will they take the kick and level the score?
Well, they'll definitely take the kick. If Dinova kicks it like he did the first one, it will be all level. But now the Roosters are experiencing what the Knights had to contend with for most of the first half. Tough yards coming out of their own area. This is Muir taking the ball forward. Matt Singh is going to be the man penalised. Well, I don't think he's played at the football. I think he's at the arm there. I think that's a pretty tough call against Matt Singh.
No strip there at all. And Manson was right in front of that. But they're coming home well, aren't they? The Knights, they're really starting to get plenty of possession. See, Matt Singh's just held his arm.
Yeah, that's not a penalty.
And in straining to get through the tackle, Muir has released the football.
Manson just warning the trainers to get away out of the eye line of the goal kicker. Dinova from 22 metres out. Right in front. Oh, he's got it! I was about to put the mock on it. He got it there. It looked like a very poor 9-9. He's still talking to this trainer.
Oh, you know all about them, perhaps.
Well, he's hit the 9-iron like a 3-iron here. It only just scraped over. Didn't hit it well at all. Had enough breeze behind it, and it was straight enough to get over the crossbar.
Back for restart at the halfway line. David Manson, his voice booming above this small crowd tonight. David giving himself a rap, in fact. I could just hear him say, "I'm here early." Does he mean that he's mostly late? I don't think so. He's a good referee and a good man with it, as Jackson is put down on the 30-metre line. Newcastle level at 8 points all. You've got to say, Steve Rhodes, that it was predictable. You didn't have to be a rocket scientist to think that they might come back in the second half.
Well, as I said in the first half, Rabs, they looked dangerous when they got into Sydney City's 20-metre line with a change of angles. Been a real good battle out here. I don't know if you've seen it from up there between Muir and also Fittler, who's having a blinder for Sydney City.
The 27 is Julian Troy. Phil Gould named 15. There were a couple to be omitted. Julian was one of those from the run-on side. This is Barnhill, and Sydney City are just 11 metres away from the line. Newcastle's turn to defend. They go across through Walker. Pearson got a ball down. Walker's with it, but the referee said it was propelled forward.
They did a pretty good job there, the Knights, to get across and get out of a pretty dangerous situation. Created an overlap. Brandon Pearson was taken by Albert. He had to come in off his wing. That all came from an Adam Muir drop ball in their own territory, and that's what this game is going to come down to. The team that makes mistakes in their own danger zone will get beaten.
So Newcastle guarding that line, the one behind them, as they run away from it. A line that hasn't been crossed. All the scoring done at the other end of the park. Glanville is back at the 55th minute. And we've got a pair of 8s. Always split 8s. Well, that's what they tell me, the two whippersnappers.
You keep getting 6s with them, but Ray, what are you going to do off 14?
Just inside the 40-metre line. Back and across for Johns to run and show it and then offload it. And Robbie O'Day was put away on the 40-metre line. Now back for Johns to get the ball down the other end of the park. That's where they've got to play it. Let Sydney City make the mistakes that Newcastle made for them in the first half. That must be their plan. Next week, Newcastle plays Souths. That's the make-up game. And Sydney City will play Manly next Friday week, that is. In the Rugby League calendar, of course, we go to Suncorp next Friday for Australia versus rest of the world.
Geez, had a workload tonight, Luke Ricketson. 32 tackles, and we've still got plenty of game time left here. Last tackle now signalled against the Roosters. He's just really worked the joint down, Ricketson, as kick from Bonetti. Allowed to go over the sideline by Cochran.
8 points all. With 56 and a half gone.
It's a really interesting game too next Friday night. I know it's Australia's only test match in the ARL comp, but not a bad side, the rest of the world side. It's a chance for some of the players like O'Reilly and the likes to perform at the highest level. Tom O'Reilly, an Irish Papua New Guinean. They can find one, the rest of the world.
Newcastle again not enjoying the same situation that Sydney City found themselves in that first half. Coming off your own line, slogging it. Hopefully another 90 metres or so up the park, looking for those elusive points. And they are proving just that tonight. Butterfield back for Harrigan. And he's got up to the halfway line. as Jackson scoots from dummy half. Craigie came in, basically just acted as a link before giving it to Harrigan, who was in a pressure situation. I can't understand the pass. Then for Denover to grub it along the ground. There's a good chase on it. Cleary gets it back. He might have juggled that around a bit, but it apparently went backwards.
Yeah, he just has looked a bit uncomfortable in this game at times, Ivan Cleary, basically since you called him Mr. Cool.
That's right.
He's going great guns until then.
It was about 55 minutes ago I called him that, and you've had to bring it back up. Coming away from their 20-metre line, and Walker has put himself into the game. And Cleary has put down Mr. Cool 30 metres away from his line. Oh, and Walker knocks on. So here comes a chance for Newcastle. Sydney City.
Well, Andrew Walker just would not give the football to the Newcastle team for the changeover. Now Denover a chance to put his team in front for the first time in the game.
He's very lucky that he didn't use the sin bin.
Exactly.
Well, I reckon his fellow players must be wondering what was going through his mind. They're in the big games, and this is a big game for them. You've just got to keep your mind clear and keep it positive. Now Manson having problems telling Brad Fittler to go back to 10 metres. This is an incident that may cost the Roosters the game.
Well, David Manson asked Andrew Walker to hand the football over on 3 occasions. It was not forthcoming. And straight away, Andrew Walker has been replaced by Phil Gould, who was obviously fairly unimpressed with that effort.
Denover then, with the big breeze at his back. From 25 out, just off centre, got it in flight, but it's wide this time. So 8 points all, no increase for Newcastle. 1 hour of the match gone. Many of these players wearing what appears to be T-shirts under their jumpers. A couple of them came off in the match against North Sydney suffering from, is it called hypothermia? And I see that a couple of them, Leo Denover and Matthew Johns, have got T-shirts or something underneath their jumpers tonight. Now to the 40-metre line. A fairly sloppy play the ball. And this man is playing well tonight, Lee Jackson. He's been on the end of a lot of criticism since he came across from England. But tonight he's playing well, Lee, and O'Davis floats the ball for Albert to be taken down by Pearson and Miles. O'Davis, a dummy half for Johns. Now Fletcher, who played a part in that try. And then Jackson away for Denover, tries to brush away from Fittler. Fittler's got him tidied up like a sheep, about to shear him. And then a kick down in towards the 10-metre line, crossing the touchline. Off the boot of Matthew Johns.
He left it very late to kick it, Matthew Johns. Slipping it through. Chases onside, and Lee Jackson, yeah, he's back in the north of England at the moment playing for Hull. Loves these kind of conditions. He's been very busy and industrious in the centre of the ruck. Some of his passes have been very telling ones, putting a lot of pressure on the opponents.
Back in '94, there was no doubt in my mind he was, of the English players, the best of them. Of course, prior to him coming out to Australia, but he left that form behind him, I thought, but he's certainly playing well tonight. Now, here's a break being made by Sydney City.
It's Hayden.
It's Hayden, the boy that ran on against Parramatta last Friday. To the 40-metre line, a long run. Can they build on it? Fittler and Lamb have had something to do with it. Barnhill is there. Then back for Hayden again. Or Rigon it is. 30 metres out from the Newcastle line. And away from Lamb. Julian Troy, I do believe. Bonetti sweeping it up for Barnhill. And met by the big Newcastle forwards. 5 tackles gone. They're 12 metres out from the line. Bonetti to the right. Lamb puts the kick in, looking for the wingers on the right of the ground. The bat down is favourable for Sydney City.
6 again.
6 more tackles for them. Here's a chance for them. This is Brandon Pearson. 2 metres out. Down in the corner. Bonetti asked for a long pass. Gave it. Julian Troy takes it to the centre. Bonetti there again, looking for Adrian Lamb, who in turn will be looking for Brad Fittler. Now they combine. They go up the centre.
Oh, great tackle, Butterfield.
Bonetti across for Fittler. Danger looming for Newcastle, but the ball's been propelled forward. And the Novocastrians off the hook. 8 points all. Now they've got to take it down the other end of the park.
Great defence there from Newcastle. And those tackles, like the ones made by Butterfield there, just inspirational stuff for his teammates. Read it so well. And this is the end result. Up in your face defence. On that occasion by Adam Muir.
16 minutes of the match remaining. Miles making the tackle on Albert. 30-metre line. Just being crossed by Glanville. And that's against Sydney City.
Well, he's got him for a high tackle. It's Julian Troy.
We're a fair way from the action, but that looked as though it got him right in the chest. Some contact on the other side with the arm, or a tough ball, and an important one because it was late in the tackle count.
So it gives Newcastle a very good opportunity to get it down the other end of the park, and I know the conditions aren't conducive, but that drop goal, Lamb's on the wing, the drop goal might be in their minds. It's, as I said, anything but conditions for that. O'Davis. At 8 points all, Lamb coming off. They're 28 metres out from the line. Johns pushing it across. Dinover puts the grubbing kick in behind Miles, and he is able to put a shadow across it. Safeguard it. And it'll come back out to the 10-metre line for the restart.
Just wondering if Adrian Lamb is injured. He's had a crook ankle for a few weeks now. They'll need him out there if they're going to win this game.
I do think, Ray, Newcastle are in a position where they can wait for the field goal a little bit. They'll be confident that they're going to get it into field goal range easier than their opposition. The Roosters, it's going to be very, very tough for them to get to the other end of the field, but with the breeze, Newcastle should have plenty of opportunities in this last 15.
Here's Sydney City. They put it through the hands, and Adam Hayden made that long run for them. And I just got the impression they were all about doing something similar again. As Barnhill is confronted by Jackson. Fletcher comes over the top. So a try and 2 goals to both sides. 8 points to 0 at half-time. Sydney City leading. Newcastle have whittled it away. A couple of goals for Dinover and a try for O'Davis, a rebound. And referee David Manson is giving the penalty to Newcastle. He's found a Sydney City player offside in front of the kicker, and it's Jason Lowry. It all happened very quickly, and this is the way it went. The kick bouncing back off one of the Newcastle players to Lowry, who was in front of the kicker. It was a tight call for the referee, but I fancied that he got it right. 9 metres away from the Roosters line, and a good chance for Newcastle to really put themselves in a dominant position. This is Hughes back on the 20-metre line. A lot of passing, but going backwards. Now Peden losing his footing just inside the 20-metre line, centre of the ground. Jackson away for Johns. He goes for the drop goal. It doesn't really get off the tarmac, and the Roosters are with it. And played there by Shane Riggin.
If there are any more field goal attempts by the Knights, you think that they're going to have to be 10, 15 metres out. Now the Roosters with the unenviable task of trying to get it out of their own danger zone. It's a pretty good charge there from Benetti to take it close to the 30.
Sydney City then. Their opportunity. But as Peter just pointed out, the slog for them is much more difficult. Oh, gee, that's good defence, good bruising stuff by Peden. The last tackle now, and Fittler sends it down to the 30-metre line where O'Davis uses the feet to block it down, and then Fittler leading the chase, making the tackle. And so Newcastle are back 32 metres away from their own line. 8 points all. With Albert playing it now on his 40-metre line. Newcastle going to the right of the ground. These players must be, I know there's this interchange rule and a lot of people are opposed to it, but right now I think most of these players will be very happy that they've got the interchange rule. They'd be getting very tired. So they've ploughed through this. It's been a hard slog for them as Johns runs across and hopes for a gap that he might be able to dart through. He's just into Sydney's half of play on the last tackle as they go for the kick off the boot of Dinover. He doesn't strike it in the direction he meant, and Cleary comes back out to the 20-metre line. We come to the 70th minute, and Jack Elsgood, who had a sparkling first half, a lot of involvement, and gets involved on one of the rather rare occasions in this, the second half. Walker is back with us. I fancy earning the ire of his coach for giving Dinover that penalty that he missed just earlier on. Ooh, gee, a slap across the face for Conley will bring a penalty.
And that's exactly what the Roosters were looking for, a penalty to help them get another set of 6 and to get down the other end of the field. Because for the last 5 or 10 minutes, they've only been able to get the ball out to their own 40 or 50 and kick the football down to pick up another 30 metres. This time the high tackle from Hughes gives them a bit of a chance with a bit more possession.
So here they come now, the Roosters, not getting a lot of distance off the kick for touch. And on the first tackle, this is the second. And that is the lock forward, Riggin. Tackled on the 40-metre line. So 4 tackles left. And Fittler tries to beat them himself in his second match back after that broken thumb. Third tackle, 30-metre line. They're on the right end of the ground as Walker uses Barnhill. And this looks like a waste of a tackle. That's the 4th gone, and they didn't improve the football. Now they go across for Walker, who would be the man you would think about for the drop goal. A couple of kicks by him and then dived on by the ever-safe Robbie O'Davis.
Good play there from Walker. Took the chance for the short one. They nearly got it back. And to win this game, they'll have to come up with something special, won't they, Newcastle? The Roosters.
I don't know whether Darren Albert thought he was offside, but he made it a little bit harder for Robbie O'Davis by pausing and waiting for O'Davis to dive on the ball. Craigie now, good metres.
Almost out to the 20-metre line. And I just wonder how players feel about working their stomachs out for 80 minutes and only going home with 1 point. As the ball is sent down the ground by Dinover onto the feet of Cleary, away from his 30-metre line, then drifting across with no thought of passing. And that's understandable. Pearson's lost it. Newcastle waited for that. This is what they wanted. And Peden is tackled 40 metres away on tackle number 1. And now O'Davis joins in. Takes it to the 30 on the second. Under 8 minutes remaining. Jackson using the blind. Then they angle back to the open. Still on the 30-metre line. Third tackle gone. Dinover flicking it back up for Muir. Stands and offloads. Who wants it? It was Hughes. He's put away on the 4th tackle. 15 metres out. You can see the proximity to the uprights. To Dinova. He's in a dry patch of ground. Puts a kick on it, but it's wide. We will take a break as these teams slog it out. 8 points all. Back at 8 points all, and Newcastle having the last chance. This time it might be Sydney City's chance.
Well, he had a great chance, didn't he, Dinova? Plenty of time, a nice patch of green to kick it off, but missed. They go wide now, the Roosters. He's played well, Hayden, since he's come on. Speaking to Phil Gould last week, I know he's got a big rap on him. Here's Dinova at a mile of time, but a wet ball can do anything.
Just into Newcastle's area. Played there by Hermanson, and they go onto the scoreboard side. Riggin working it up the centre with Barnhill. Barnhill gets it back for Brad Fittler. Fittler looked on his right, then tried to get a desperation pass away.
Some nice interchange of passing there, some good inside balls there from the Roosters, and that's the way that they think they can make the breaks, and they're making them up the middle there. This one from Brad Fittler, though, it was desperate and rushed into there from Hayden.
You saw Adrian Lamb leave the ground. It must have been about 8 minutes back now. Steve, what's the story on Adrian?
Yeah, it's the same ankle that he injured in the State of Origin. He wants to come back out and complete this game, but the medical staff don't seem to think he'll be able to.
And Lee Jackson has come off. He's toiled hard all night, Jackson. And nobody would have had the ball in their hands as much as him. O'Davis probably might be the exception to that, but I doubt it. Now Butterfield offloading. And is this Cochrane? Yes, it is. To the 40-metre line on the Roosters' end of the ground. They sweep it away to the right of the ground for Glanville. Holding it out, getting the pass away. And Conley it is, who goes down under the tackle of Sydney City. 32 metres away from their line. Dinova goes back and gets it to Matthew Johns. And this is Adam Muir, pulled down by Brad Fittler. Struggling to play the ball as quickly as he can. Johns in position, running it straight at Barnhill. 5 tackles gone, 29 metres out. They go for a long-range shot. Dinova put the dummy together, dropped off the kick, got it away for Craigie. Craigie gets it back on the inside for Dinova. Dinova, he's over the line. Did he get it down? We will wait. We will wait. And the referee gives the try. Leo Dinova, 12-8.
Well, great stuff there, and Leo Dinova and Owen Craigie leading the celebrations, and why not? Dinova, I do think that he wanted to have a go here, but he saw that the Roosters had come through, and his players outside reacted beautifully. Owen Craigie, well, he's carved him up at times tonight, and Dinova, he showed plenty of strength to push off Ivan Cleary and another before carrying one of the centres, Matt Singh, over the line. Good vision from Dinova, and very good work from the Newcastle team to be back far enough so that they did have the option of running the football on the last.
Yeah, great play from Dinova, and Craigie, he's been their best back, that's for sure. He's real chunky these days, but he's a good player. Keeps making the breaks, and Dinova with a couple of Wally Woodbees out wide. Ordinary defence there from the Roosters.
Well, there were 3 very bad tackles in that passage of play from the Roosters. The first was Andrew Walker's miss on Craigie. Cleary got brushed off by the little halfback, and Jack Elsgood, who was forced to rush in, might have been a little bit off balance, but he still missed the tackle. All ends up, and that should just be about the match winner.
2 from 3 for Dinova. 10 metres in and 25 out. 12-8 the score. Breeze across the flight. That will come round. Oh, come round. Beautifully done. 14-8. Now it looks a forlorn hope for Sydney City.
Yeah, Dinova, he had a look. He saw that the players had rushed through. Barnhill led the charge. And that was really the tackle that set up the try. The missed tackle from Andrew Walker that allowed them to get in behind the front line. Nothing silly now from the Knights. Work it away for 3 or 4 tackles. get a big one down the other end.
Oh, gee, I didn't notice at the time when we even watched the replay that Matt Singh, he was there again trying to get the man with the football onto his back, trying to get a hand under the ball.
He just keeps turning up, doesn't he? He's done it for Queensland a heap of times, and he's a good player.
Well, he's almost perfected that art, Matt Singh, but it didn't work for him that time. Billy Peden, 42 metres away from his own line. Newcastle, they trail by 8 points. Big Blocker said that might be enough. And he was right with the emphasis on might be. They've come home with a wet sail, 14 to 8, with a gale behind them.
Well, a big plus for the Knights, Ray, was the fact they were able to whittle away those 8 points fairly early in the second half. So it wasn't as though they got too desperate or had to get desperate late in the game. That's now turned towards Sydney City.
Fittler. Now turned inside by Hayden for Pearson. It's just desperate stuff now from the Roosters, and well, it might be. Played by Riggin. They've got to do something, got to pull something out of the hat. 1.5 minutes to go. The kick by Fittler. Oh, Walker's pulled it in. Then he's on his way. He's got a chase on his hand. A foot race. He gets there. It's going to be given. This is going to be some kick for goal. Who scored the try? Luke Ricketson. Ricketson's over the line.
And what a try. You call it, Rabs. How good are you calling it? They wanted something special, and they got it. Look at this. Magic stuff from Walker, and then kicks it on, and then it came down to a foot race. Ricketson was on the charge. Newcastle had to turn, and he gets there. And that's a good decision from that touch judge, in-goal judge. Well, beautiful try.
That sums up Andrew Walker, doesn't it? He's missed a tackle at the other end, and he's come up with something outrageous. Over the top of Dinova, shaped the kick. You'd have thought that Cochrane might have had enough speed in this race. He did leave fairly early to dive at the football. And have we decided that it is Ricketson, the try scorer?
Yeah, well, we've got his name up in the semaphore.
Yeah, it's him, all right. He is a former centre, of course. He used his body position perfectly.
Well, now, full time has come and gone, and we have got that man, Luke Ricketson's try to be converted. The players stand back and wait. 14 in from touch, 19 out for Ivan Cleary. Hits it, he's gonna get it, he's gonna do it, yes! There it is, the equaliser. What an incredible night at Marathon. They have slogged their guts out for 80 minutes, and they've gone away with half pay. 14 all. 2 tries apiece, 3 from 4 for both kickers.